Hi, this is Thomas Armstrong. I'd like to talk with you about the frustrations of finding a marketing niche for my novel, or what the hell is my genre? To a well-read Martian who revisited the Earth after a hiatus of 30 years, the publishing world would hardly be recognizable today. Everything has changed. It used to be that an author depended heavily upon his publisher to promote his books after publication. And the holy grail of promotion was the 15-city book tour and an appearance on Oprah. This is actually myself at my high water mark in promoting my book In Their Own Way when I appeared on the Today Show. Now, however, people are publishing and actively marketing their own books, and the great hope of every author today is to have their own marketing efforts go viral. I'm talking about millions of clicks and links and followers and likes. Niche marketing is what it's all about. As internet media expert Chris Anderson explained in his book, The Long Tail, it used to be that the first weeks after publication were the critical ones, as dollars were spent by the publisher on ads, media spots, and promotional book display stands in big box bookstores. Now, however, anyone with an internet connection and a book to sell can sell directly to the people who will be most likely to buy his or her book. However, this requires a lot of strategizing, and authors must dig deep to find their audience, their niche. A sort of reverse effect of this marketing issue has been that authors are increasingly writing to a specific niche that they can then successfully market to. This has resulted in an explosion of different genres of book types, particularly in the area of novels in the past decade or two. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines genre as a category of artistic, musical, or literary composition characterized by a particular style, form, or content. Back in the 1950s and 60s, there were only a few genres of novels that predominated in the trade book field. They included science fiction, mysteries, westerns, romance, and general trade novels. Now, however, there is a much broader and wider range of genres. In addition to these five, there are thrillers, horror, historical, speculative fiction, fantasy, magical realism, dystopian, detective, gothic, meta, military, steampunk, cyberpunk, young adult, new adult, survival, serial, erotica, parable, action and adventure, women's, LGBTQ+, contemporary, literary, graphic, crime, and Bildungsroman, which is a novel of the formation of the character of a young adult. This explosion of book genres has been beneficial to readers who have specific tastes and preferences in subject matter and style. They can just get on Amazon or go to a bookstore and head straight for their favorite genre section of the store and hope to be rewarded with a wonderful read. As I've also said, this multiplicity of genres has also been a windfall for authors who can carefully craft their books to fit into specific genres that they can then target and monetize. This expansion of genres, however, has not been beneficial to everyone. Readers whose tastes are eclectic may have to search harder for books that are what marketers call cross-genre, or more colorfully, genre-busting novels. And for authors who are setting out to write not for any specific genre at all, but merely seeking to write the very best novels that they can write, this specificity of genres can make it very difficult for them to craft marketing strategies that are tailored to the themes, styles, and topics of their specific novels. I found myself in this latter category this past year, having written a novel entitled Childless. It's about a childless child psychologist who tries to foil a US government plot to have childhood identified as a medical disorder and removed from the human genome. Now you might say, well, that's easy. This is clearly science fiction. But things aren't that simple. Yes, it has a science fiction subplot that is especially emphasized toward the end of the book, as US military geneticists work hard to develop a genetic fix to accelerate adulthood, while simultaneously renegade geneticists are working to genetically engineer a process that will delay adulthood and make childhood last 100 years. This is a sort of good versus evil plot line. And I guess if I had to name one book that seemed to represent the type of novel I've written, it would have to be Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. The novel was written in 1932, so it doesn't have the DNA and gene technologies that we have today. But the test tube babies with their assigned traits comes closest to what I had in mind when I wrote my own novel. That's why I listed the novel on Amazon as genetic engineering science fiction. However, like Huxley's book, it is also in a sense a parable novel and a satire, actually a dark comedy on the importance of childhood to the well-being of civilization. In this sense, it bears some similarity to other dark comedies, like The Loved One by Evelyn Waugh, which satirized the funeral industry, and Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, which is actually a satiric essay where Swift suggests eating children as a solution to poverty and food insecurity. By the way, by mentioning these books, I'm certainly not putting Childless in the same category. These are the classics I'm talking about. My book actually begins as more of a psychological or literary novel, as Harvey Sumner, the childless child psychologist, goes through a great deal of inner turmoil as he considers his midlife contradictions. He's the scion of a long line of famous child healers and a world expert on childhood himself, but he hasn't worked with an actual live child for almost 30 years. This inner psychological conflict is just as important to the book as the science fiction plot. To these genres, I could add speculative fiction and dystopian, since at the end of the novel, and I should say here, spoiler alert, so if you don't want to hear about the last couple of chapters, plug your ears and go la 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 la. At any rate, here it goes. At the end of the novel, I write about an American culture that exists solely of adults. The children who are born in this society actually are engineered to explode into adulthood in a matter of seconds after their birth. I call these individuals popcorn adults. In this sense, in addition to Huxley's books, it resembles books like Fahrenheit 451, which portrayed a world without books, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, a world with few procreative women, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, a world of organ-farmed young adults, and Children of Men by P.D. James. This latter novel comes closest to my book in portraying a world of slowly disappearing new births. So there we have it. Childless is a psychological novel, a literary novel, a science fiction novel, a dark comedy, a parable novel, speculative fiction, a dystopian novel. And I should add, it also has magical realism aspects, because most of the novel is realistic, except for the popcorn adults and a few other light touches along the way. So where to put it in the bookstore? Who to market it to? I've already heard from a book critic who said she reviewed Childless and thought it was dystopian, until toward the end when she discovered it was a satire, at which point she enjoyed the novel much more than before. This is the downside of setting off to write the best novel I could. I didn't plan the novel ahead of time. I simply set my eyes on the computer screen and my fingers on the keyboard and forged straight ahead, adding things that made sense to me as the next good thing to add as I went along. Given my background as an educator and psychologist focusing on childhood for over 30 years, I was led to plot lines that occurred to me from my own experience. write what you know is the cliche that applies here. And perhaps most importantly, I added a lot of stuff from my wild and untrammeled imagination. At any rate, all I can say is let you be the judge. Get my book on Amazon, read it, and then email me and let me know which genre or genres it best fits into. That could help me a lot in my marketing campaign. Here's my email, thomas@thomasarmstrong.com, and you can visit my website at institute4learning.com.